like okay. Project-based learning is quite a big thing at the moment, and I know from one of my colleagues who has recently been out in Spain, she's come back and has heard about project-based learning in the primary school settings. Now what project-based learning is for us is you give your students a task, and from that they then develop all of the concepts, they lead it, and throughout this year this is what these students have been doing in terms of the intergenerational café. What the intergenerational café is they initially put together a pitch, and once a month they have invited in children from the local primary school, Dungannon Primary School, and it has been a P3 group that's come over. The reason why we initially did it with a P3 group was because there was a lot of things to consider in terms of having senior people within the college. You know, we've had people in with oxygen tanks, with limited mobility, and we just thought for our first year we needed to think about, you know, some of the dynamics of young children running around. And with a P3 group, we also hoped that some of the children would be able to form those more meaningful relationships from more tabletop style activities. This really wasn't a very difficult project for me to implement, and I have to say throughout this year I have been astounded by the work that my students have done. There have been times, and my students will tell you, there have been times when I've been running from pillar to post and thought, oh my goodness, is this going to come together? And actually they have shown real leadership qualities, and it's something to consider even in a primary school environment. You know, you can implement this style of project at any age group if you put together within your classroom a good, neat package to begin with and let them run with it. For me as a lecturer, I've really had to consider my trust and step back, you know, and really think about, you know, I am allowing people within my classroom to take charge. The college has been very supportive of this initiative, and this is something that we're looking to embed into a range of curriculum areas. And we've been able to bring in support from the catering team. They've been fantastic doing cooking things. Our sports team, they've been looking at physio programs, and that's something that we can look at over the next couple of years. This was a one-year pilot. We wasn't sure if we were going to get to this point. We weren't sure if after 1 month that actually could be the end of it. But actually it has just grown and grown. The biggest obstacle for us in setting this up was transportation. And if you are setting up within your own local schools, it is something to consider. The senior organisations that work with those people within our community, they have had big cuts in their transport links, and it has proven really difficult to get people here. We've been very fortunate to have the college bus, which can bring people to us, and you'll hear later from Peatlands, who also have a very close partnership with another organisation close to them. But that was definitely our biggest obstacle, and it wasn't something that we considered at the time. For us being in this location, though, it's actually proven really useful, because we have the school next to us and we have the college bus, and this is something that while you're sitting here today, have a consideration. Is this something that you would maybe like to participate in next year? Have you got a school bus that could get you guys here? You know, have you got a walking service that can get you to here? And this won't be our only project. You know, as we've evaluated this process, we've looked at a range of different things. I have not been marking my students' work in the conventional sense. You know, very often I'll get an assessment handed in and I will tick and I'll mark. And something that we've looked at is how can our students work, you know, their videos, their reflections, their diaries, how can these be used for us to evidence that they are meeting with the criteria? And certainly from our point of view, our students are often out with you within your schools doing placements, and some of the feedback we hear is that they're not getting as much practical skills as they need. And this is a type of project where I'm sure they'll agree we've had to think on our feet this year. You know, we've got a room full of people, we've got a room full of children, and we've had to very quickly figure out, right, what are we going to do here? This has changed. And they are all skills that they're going to need for the workforce. Including today, I know this is me talking again, but this is something that they've put together themselves. And a seminar isn't something that very often people do even in their early stage of their careers. So doing this at this point is a big deal, and it allows them, when they're going off to university, they can put this down on their UCAS to say, I put this together, Or if they're going on to work placements, it's something else that they can say, look, I've been running this for the last year. Our students have worked incredibly closely together, and it's been fantastic to see the relationships and the partnerships that have come from that. I have to say, I have been amazed. There has been things sent through to my emails and to my Facebook page that Clement talked about, you know, that they have just been flat out at weekends. You know, I've had pictures of dough that's, let's try this out. I've had presentations that have been sent to me. I've had this reflection. I've had a wealth of other projects that have stemmed from this. As a teacher, that can be quite difficult to follow because you suddenly think, right, what am I going to do with this? And it is quite a scary thing to let everyone else take charge. But we have complete trust within this classroom, and I think that's a fabulous thing, is that so we're able to explore these ideas and learn from each other. I certainly don't know everything, and I am learning all the time from these projects, learning from my students. And it is something to consider, even if it's not I know this focus is on intergenerational care, even within your classrooms, your nurseries, how can you give your young people a concept and let them run with it, let them take the leadership, let them take ownership. And I am truly amazed with just how much they have got from that initiative. It's something that we are going to develop. This has been a year one, and as I said, this was just a pilot. I'm very grateful that it has gone well. I'm very grateful to the relationships that I've formed with people in our community that I never would have formed. We've had a range of older people in, and it's been quite humbling, you know, when you're sitting having these conversations with people, and you know, they're telling you their stories, they're telling you that they haven't been out of their house for the last 2 weeks, and yet they're coming into this brand new environment. And our college is very big, and even from the first time that we had people coming in, I sensed someone was very nervous coming into the building. And it was only then I sort of thought, this place is quite scary, you know, this place is quite large. And it's thinking about even just our general demeanour around the college, of how we welcome people into our organisation and into our setting. I certainly am really pleased to see this grow, and I'm certainly pleased to see how our students have used their skills and how they've used this to aid their curriculum. If you want to put on the little video for me, you'll hear a little bit more from them.